So welcome, Hannah. I'm just pressing record, and it's just going to be a conversation really amongst detoxification specialists, and really what we wanted to discuss, because we've had chats about that before, just sort of amongst us, and where we realize there is so much confusion going on around
Yeah.
detoxification and what it should look like, what a detox body should look like, and in all the emotional trickeries and mental trickeries that can sneak into this whole path, which, at the end of the day, this whole path, actually, let's keep in mind, is about finding true health and true well-being in our bodies, and freedom in our bodies, and freedom from food addictions and all of that. So actually that is the goal. The goal is not to have a body that looks a certain way, even though a lot of people have made it into that. And the goal is about, how well centered do you feel in your body, in your mind, and in relation to food that truly nourishes us.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had some great conversations where we were like, oh, we should have recorded those.
Absolutely. And so now we decided, okay, let's just do this call and sort of, share our thoughts. So you go ahead and start something, and we'll pick it up from there. Where are you at with this? Because obviously you've had your own journey, as I have had.
Yeah, well, I suppose I'll start with talking a little bit about our journey, just so that people have got a background of what detoxification has been on our pathway. And like you said, it's different for everybody. There's steps that we can all take, there's guidelines that we can all take, but there's like a whole host of different things, different genetics, different paths, different environments, what we're prepared to do and what we're not, our own boundaries, and the stresses that are on us as well. And for us, very much like you and many other people that I've heard, thought that I was living a very healthy life, whole foods and, vegetarian since I was 8, very aware of what good food is and what wasn't good food and all of that. But I was born with quite a weak genetic body as well, and I can trace my own personal journey back to birth and beyond. So for me, that wasn't enough, and it didn't sort of support my body enough. So I still got into a bit of a tricky situation. Having my children really kicked that off for me. I got very, very unwell after having my children, and both children were born with labels and disabilities, to which I just didn't accept. I wasn't prepared to accept these labels, the things that these specialists were telling me. And it took me a long time to really sit in my own intuition and my own power. I would be spending $600-700 a week on specialists, going from one specialist to another, on average anything from $500 to $1,000 worth of supplements and superfoods and naturopath bills. And I was very much seeking out the answers. Come and fix me, fix my children, what can we do? And a light bulb went off once, where I was like, I've got more knowledge. I'm sitting in the specialist's office and I can hear my voice going, you don't have a clue, actually. You've got no idea what you're talking about. I kind of feel like I know more than you. Why am I paying $600 when I feel like I know more than you right now? So I started listening to my own intuition, and I just started to say, no, I'm not going to accept this. These children will not have to live with this, and I will not have to live with the way I'm feeling. And so as we do as mothers with children with, issues and people with issues, we go on this mad, crazy research and education. And I went on every course I could possibly find, overlapping intense courses on top of each other to learn as fast as I could. And again, a light bulb went off to go, actually, I don't even need any of this. Like, it's innately in me. And as I started to heal, I saw my children heal. And instead of putting the pressure on, I need to heal my children, I actually had to find a level of detachment to say, that's their journey, this is mine, and I need to look after me right now, because you can't heal and support a family from an empty cup. We know this. So I had to really look after myself and build myself up and find a way for me. And, you know, many doorways, many pathways that I went down, and finally found this beautiful raw living food and fasting and detoxification lifestyle. And it was the key for us. It was the thing that took us to the next level. There'd been many things that took us a little bit, that helped us, that supported us, gave us avenues. But this was the thing that actually unlocked my children, unlocked my health, and really allowed all those other things to actually start working. The interventions, the support, the superfoods, whatever it was, to actually start doing what they needed to do. Because we were just too toxic. We were too full of toxins. But I think also what the biggest part of my journey has been is not only to look at myself and heal myself, but to also see that my energy, my emotional trauma, my subconscious patterning, my belief systems, everything had to be looked at for me to heal. And it wasn't about the nutrition, it wasn't about the physical detoxification, it's about the emotional, the support, the going deep. And I also saw that if my needs were being met, my children's needs were being met. If I wasn't being supported and I wasn't having my needs met, my children would reflect that. They would mirror that to me straight away. Absolutely. And that's instead of going
point. That's such an
because prior to that, it was like going down the, oh my God, they've eaten a carrot, what's wrong? Or, oh, you know, the bananas set them off. And it wasn't that. It was, I was not okay that day. I was not being supported. I wasn't listening to my instincts. And they simply just mirror that. They are simply a mirror of my internal world, so beautifully. And I worked with Dr. Maxine Therese and studied childopathy, which is the needs-based model. And it really opened me up to be able to really see what they were showing me, to then work on myself on another level. And that's what I help parents with now is, you know, they're often frustrated like 3 or 4 sessions in, and they're like, we haven't discussed the green juice. When are we putting the green juice in? And I'm like, we're not yet, because you're not ready for green juice. We've got to go really deep and work on this and get this stuff sorted and get you in a supported state, in alignment, feeling ready. Then we can go into detoxification. Because if you do that first, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work because you come unhinged, because you haven't got the emotional support to cope with the detoxification or the trauma that gets released.
Yes, that is just such a big part of this. And nobody realizes that, or, you know, nobody, unless we've come out the other end and gone, oh my goodness, you know, we needed all this emotional support, and that detoxification is inevitably linked to our emotional patterning, our mental patterning, our DNA blueprint, our ancestral lineage, and all of that. And it's amazing how when we then have done the work and we look back and we go, wow, everything that we have sort of learned from the books, and yes, we know that all is one, that all is connected, but until you actually feel it in your own body and you see it reflected in all things, it's not real.
Yeah.
And that's where the big work is. And I really feel that this whole business of detoxification is actually just the collective wave. And obviously, you know, we are the torch bearers of this movement, but ultimately it's just being the way showers for the collective, for what needs to happen for total integration and oneness. And then until it is all integrated in the physical body, it all means nothing.
Totally. And also, I think an important part for, parents to understand about their children, or even if you don't have children really, and you have relationship issues with someone in your family or someone that's close to you, is that, you give birth to your children, they have your flora, they have your DNA, they have your blood, they have everything connected to you. So as and when, knowing that we are energy bodies, as and when we clear our microbiome, as we clear our bodies, as we clear our energy bodies, even though we are separate bodies to our children, it affects them and changes them. It's quite magical how that works. It is, because it's hard to understand. It's like, oh, hang on, don't I need to be putting probiotics in and da da da? It's like you are still, I mean, especially to the age of 8, you are still one body with your child, consciously and through the actual organisms. And if you work on your own gut and work on your triggers and emotions and everything else, it really does trickle out to the children, which is, for me, I found when I discovered that, I was like, oh God, what a bloody relief. I don't have to fix my children, I don't have to heal my children, all I have to do is work on me.
Completely.
And for me, that's a weight, because before I was very much in a place of, how do I do this? These precious lives, they mean so much to me. How do I do this? And the weight was immense, and it was stopping me from healing because I was in so much stress about, how do I overcome my children's autism? How do I overcome the physical disabilities? How do I stop this continual repetitive, ear infections and chest infections, all the things that children get when their gut's not strong. So for me, that was a nice, release really of like, okay, it's all good. Just work on me. It's not easy, but it's just takes that pressure off a little bit.
Yeah. Once we know that the focus needs to be on us, and then everything else becomes a reflection, including our children, our relationships, money, love, everything becomes just a reflection. And that's really what I feel I've also so learned from an embodied experience through the path of detoxification, is whenever there's something on the outside that's not resonating, don't go try and fix it on the outside, but go right back here and go, okay. And sometimes it's just the tiniest movement that we need to make. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh my goodness, there's the reflection, which it is magical, but ultimately we know it's just quantum physics. It's just the universe is a reflection. There is really nothing out there besides ourselves, which is also just a whole radical thought. But until it's just a thought, it's kind of like mental masturbation. And then we feel it in our body and it's like, oh wow, okay, I got it now, and then there's no more thinking about it.
Yeah.
We just become it.
Well, so I'd probably say to take some of our listeners today back to like, what do you do? How do you get to that stage? I often get a lot of people go, look, my child won't eat anything healthy. And for me, I believe it's an energetic thing. When I used to work actually in people's homes, I do a lot of work by Skype now, but I used to go to people's homes and say, like, my child won't eat fruit, my child won't eat vegetables. And I would go to their home and I would put a beautiful big raw salad or fruit down in front of the kids and they would gobble it up. And for me, it's an energy thing. And I like to, and it sounds a bit random, but when you hold a hamster and they bite you because they can feel the fear, it's the same thing. If you're making food for your child, going, he's not going to eat this. I've made this 3 times before. He's not going to eat this broccoli. I know he won't eat the broccoli. And then you put it down in front of them and go, darling, please eat the broccoli. I mean, the energy behind that is, it's just lower vibration, and the child's going to go, nah, not interested.
Yeah.
I often encourage the parents to get really high vibration with what they're doing, really aligned with the detoxification pathway, aligned with nutrition, aligned with what they're doing. Celebrate it, have the fruit and vegetables all over the side, and never inflict it on the child, but just start empowering themselves and their children. And you see it change. Suddenly the child's like, what are you eating, mum? And well, what have you got? And something, oh, can I have a little bit of that? And it changes. Instead of this like, oh, please eat this, or you need to eat this, it's more of an empowerment thing of, I am so excited by this lifestyle. Look how amazing mummy feels, and look at this is helping us. And you get them involved with the shopping and the growing and anything you can do to empower them without it being a control thing of, you're going to do this because this is the right thing for you. And this can be from, I've worked with kids from 1 and 2 up to 12 or 13, when they're already deep into the junk food and they're like, not doing this, mum. They start to come on board because they can see it and they're interested. And we are innately, really underneath, no matter how much junk food we have in our system, or numbed down society as, we are innately knowing that these are our beautiful foods that we should eat. And every child I've ever worked with slowly creeps into, oh yeah, I do prefer this actually. And it's just, and you do it very slowly and empowering them and getting them involved. And if you want your child to eat greens, you make yourself a beautiful green smoothie and you leave it on the side and you say, this is mummy's, don't eat it. And the kid's going to come and eat it. Or they're going to help you make the food. Even if it's not for you, darling, you can just help mummy make mine. And a couple of times they've made this, it looks good, they've seen you enjoy it, and they're suddenly like, I might try a bit, I might do this. It's a way of empowering the child on this journey than inflicting or controlling, because children under the age of 11 and 12, they feel controlled anyway, and the last thing they want is their food to be controlled. Absolutely. They need some flexibility, but as parents, we obviously can't give them the flexibility to let them eat whatever they like, because we have the knowledge behind that to say, oh, well, this is going to be the best thing for you. But I do believe no matter what stage any family's at, no matter what their current diet is, there is lots of little steps that you can put in, and before you know it, you have created a very healthy family environment. And you'll open the fridge and it'll be all fruits and vegetables with no packaged foods. But that's not done overnight. It's a slow process where the parents have to be empowered. They have to have that journey first, then they bring the children in on that journey.
Absolutely, yeah. And that is another key point, that it doesn't happen overnight, and that it's okay that it doesn't happen overnight, that it is a natural organic process where we slowly transition, and the body and the mind and the emotions need to adjust. And then initially it is difficult at certain junctures because there's resistance. I remember when I still was taking my kids off the gluten, and there was a part of me that felt kind of like, oh, I'm depriving them of certain things. But it was like I felt my own deprivation, and I was projecting it onto them. And in the minute that vanished, and I was like, oh, that's no more an issue. And I loved it. Started wanting more and more, and the whole gluten thing stopped being a problem. So it is interesting how
it's always parent.
Absolutely. And I watch you and how you've really so radically taken your children to such an amazing state of health and vitality and radiance. And you were telling me just how much they have shifted, and that I find is just so inspiring to see for other parents to realize what is actually possible. And it pains me so much when I see parents who are stuck in that medical model of thinking, well, there's nothing I can do for my child, or that the best thing that we can do is physical therapy and sort of the paleo or keto diet, because that's really the majority of information that's out there, and then they wonder, well, he's better, but he's not really healed.
Yeah, well, so we did the GAPS diet, which was very difficult for me actually. Being a vegetarian and progressing to being a vegan, I actually like ethically found that really challenging. But I put my mother hat on instead of my heart and said, "Look, I need to heal my children. I'll do anything." And for us, the GAPS diet did take us, because we removed grains and because it's no processed. And so it did certainly help us. And, but we got to a stage where we just plateaued. And you've discussed this before on your group, the fat, the amount of fat that's in the diet coats everything to give you an illusion that the symptoms have gone away. So you do feel like, oh my God, everything's got better. And it also stimulates, the amount of meat in the diet stimulates the body. So, the sleeping improves and certain things improve also because it's quite a sedative diet. So for a lot of William's symptoms seem to have improved. But then we just got to this point where I was going, we can't introduce fruit. We can't take them into more variety. Like, what's going on here? And when I started to really look at it and went, oh, this is not the answer. We have to get them off the animal products. And I remember the relief of me just going, I knew I was right. I knew that, my little inner child has always been right about this, that we just can't do this. We can't eat these beautiful animals. But I was, I made a pledge to my children that I would leave no stone unturned to help them. And I wouldn't have been able to live with myself if there was possibly an answer out there that I didn't reach out to try. And that's one thing that I personally get triggered by when people say, I've tried everything. Yeah. And I personally find that a trigger. As much as I've tried to walk past that, I can't, because, that's often, excuse my language, bullshit. Because often it's like the things that we really don't want to do, we don't do. We put those in the too hard basket. Well, I'll try all of these things. I'll use these tools, but not these tools. And really, for me, I look at these beautiful, sensitive children, these crystal children, indigo children, autism, whatever you want to label it. I see them as just ultra sensitive children. They're here because we need them for their extra senses. They're going to take us to another level, and that's a whole nother podcast webinar to do. But they've come to us with these particular sensitive bodies, and we can really, the world needs them. But they're also, with that sensitivity, they're like the sponges. For the last 3 or 4 generations worth of toxins and chemicals been used. So it's not the mother that needs to blame herself, or the grandmother. It's like a whole collection of these chemicals and toxins and stress and trauma. And this is like your great grandma's and great granddad's stress from the war.
Completely.
They literally collect all of it, and they present with these symptoms, these labels. So to me, all I see them as is, well, you just need to detox. You're just a full pot. We just need to get your pot down. And when we get your pot down, your true self, your true abilities can shine through, and you can be who you are without all of those symptoms like rocking and pulling hair out. And, like my William was, he was born crying and cried for years, just constant meltdowns and tantrum, not sleeping, gut problems, head to toe eczema, constipation for up to 20 days, or diarrhea continuously all day, eczema, just he'd bang his head against a wall all day, he'd pull chunks of hair out, scratch himself. I mean, this is all parasites, and very, very violent, very aggressive. And even at 2 or 3 would cause a lot of physical damage to me and the house. And I had people around me say things like, you'll have to put him in a special school, by the time he's 11 he'll be too violent for you to have at home. None of the therapies were working, because of course it was such a trauma to get him to the therapy to help him, and he didn't feel safe, so of course none of that was supporting him. And with my Edward, he had mild case of cerebral palsy, mild muscle dystrophy, told he was clinically deaf. And then I had this beautiful, I mean, this is when I first realized the power of natural therapies, even though I've always had it in the background, was I went to an ear, nose and throat specialist. And of course, one was like, you need grommets in, maybe tonsils out. And this other lady went, it's just a hunch, but just try olive oil in the ear for every day for a week, and then every week for 8 weeks, and come back and see me. Came back in 8 weeks, perfect hearing. And I'm like, what, olive oil? I just achieved that with olive oil without surgery and antibiotics and medication. And you know, that's what's possible. And now my children have had their diagnosis removed, and they're thriving. And we're still working on things. You know, we're still, as I'm working on things, they're working on things. My Edward still has a few, you know, gut issues that we're still working through. I'm a lot more relaxed about that now, where I know a lot of it's going to be age, it's going to be adjustments of the body, it's going to be as I heal on another level. I'm certainly not in the force that I used to be in with their healing. But I do believe that everything's possible. I do believe that, and I've seen it with clients that I've worked at, you know, that, you know, speech has come, or things have changed dramatically for families. And I'm a big believer that anything's possible, but it's persistent consistency, quite a lot of hard work, as much as people don't really want to hear that. And a real belief as well. I find when people flitter from one thing to another, oh, this didn't work, none of this worked, it takes a really long time. It does. And people don't really want to hear that, but it's the truth.
I agree. People want to hear that in 2-3 months max, it's all going to be better. And the reality is that it's a whole shift in lifestyle and a shift in consciousness, actually. I mean, it's preceded by a shift in consciousness. And once we understand that, oh my goodness, we've been doing it wrong, we've been taught wrong, and that this wrong way is the reason why we have all these health issues. And why, you know, there literally is nobody that is thriving other than those people that have been doing their work to detox their body. Everybody else is just kind of, sort of, and often, you know, as we know, people can look so amazing. And then next day they come through your office door and you go, what are you doing here? And then you realize, yes, the package looks great, but actually, you know, you haven't been feeling good for the last 10 years. And just for whatever reason, you know, you're genetically lucky. And so you manage to look good, but the feeling doesn't match the outer. And that's when people realize, okay, action is needed.
Yeah, I think there's a whole level of acceptance of symptoms in our society. Ooh. People accept that they get tired at 3 o'clock. That's just a given. Oh, well, everyone gets tired at 3 o'clock. Yeah. Well, I don't get tired at 3 o'clock. I get tired at like 7 or 8 when it's time to start winding down. Yes. And, you know, or it's like, oh, you know, my child's got an ear infection and my child's got a chest infection, but that's okay. There's a lot going around. Yeah. Oh, my child's got gastro. Oh, it's just, there's just doing the rounds at school. It's like, this, guys, this is not normal and not okay and shouldn't be happening. You know, the body can, you know, remove certain things with a cold here or there for sure, but regular ear infections, regular chest infections, regular gastro, and, you know, this is not what our beautiful children are supposed to go through. At all. And this acceptance of society saying it's okay stops people questioning, oh, hang on a minute, my child's had 3 or 4 infections this year. Maybe there's something I need to look at here. I think that sort of stops people going to the next level. And it's, you know, we especially, and I think you've spoken about this on your page as well, about, you know, the winter, when people hit winter, more kicks in, and the whole like, well, there's more bugs around. there's no more bugs or bacteria around in the winter than there is in the summer. In that theory, actually, there would be more in the summer because of the heat.
Totally, yeah.
It's because people are having heavier, stodgy, oilier foods. They're not opening the window. They're not grounding to the earth. They're in false heating. Everything's just, they drink more alcohol. All of this affects the reason why people sort of get more sick in the winter. But I think, the point I was making there was that this acceptance with children stops people actually questioning, what can I do? And I hear it a lot where they go, oh, it's so unfortunate that your children can't eat what we eat. And, we're really lucky we get to eat what we want without any problems. And I witnessed the constant gastro and the ear infections and the sick children and the dark circles under the kids' eyes. And I think, no, actually, we have an abundance of the food that we eat, but the way we eat actually prevents us having those continual things. And I'm not saying that the kids don't get the odd sniffle here and there, especially up in the tropics. We have, a lot of kind of tropical things that I've never really dealt with before, skin stuff, but we don't ever see, it just seems to go very quickly. Like they get something and they move through it. They have the strong immunity to just move through something.
Right, which that is what's natural. It's not normal to have constant fevers and infections and, so all that, like you said, that has been normalized. Or, constipation has been normalized and bloating has been normalized. PMS has been normalized and, hysterectomies. It's like, it's all normal.
Yeah.
And that's where, it's really becoming clear to me that we have totally normalized being sick on a constant basis. And then we have also totally accepted that by the age of 60 or 70, things start going radically downhill and, you sort of kind of wait around for death, essentially. You're slowing down and you're waiting for death. Instead, we are realizing that, well, if we feel this good at 40 plus, by the age of 60, we can feel even better.
Yeah. Yeah. There's talk about how our actual age, could be 130. We could actually live to 130. And I don't know that study off by heart, but to sort of think, life's over at 70, it's quite scary to me.
Yes. No, we can definitely, I definitely believe we can. And again, with the technology, with the knowledge that we have nowadays, we can live well until, 120 and be vital and all of that. But that's where also then it becomes important. And it's such an important part of healing in general. How are you participating in life? Are you truly alive? Are you embodying your truth? Are you living your truth? Are you living that which you came here to do? And when you do that, then there is constant excitement. In many ways, like I kept, before finding this journey, I was like, oh, what am I going to do? Like, not that I was thinking about retirement, but I was sort of thinking, okay, like, well, how's my life going to be when I'm older? And sort of like this fear of aging. And now I find myself thinking, wow, like for the past 4 years, I've regressed in aging. I've gained so much vitality and vision for my life that I actually so look forward to what am I going to be like when I'm 80? What am I going to be doing? And, how am I going to be serving the world then with all the wisdom that I will have then? And so now there's this excitement instead of the slight dread of like, oh, what's going to happen then? And that's been also such an amazing shift, because now life, all of a sudden, it seems like when I turned 40, it was like, oh my goodness, 40. Things are going to go down. And then the realization after healing, oh wow, now there's so much life still ahead, and there is so much excitement about the life that is ahead. And I realized I've only started living now.
Yeah.
The before was sort of squeezing through life. And yes, there was a lot of excitement about certain things because, well, eventually you do get excited, but it wasn't this authentic aliveness and excitement and knowing that, well, anything is possible and so forth. And so I would like to kind of go in the direction of, you know, where are the pitfalls of detox, and where's the juncture where it starts becoming this sort of obsessive compulsive hidden beyond, well, I'm detoxing.
Yeah, I've definitely been down that path recently as well of you know, and especially seeing, actually my son really shows me this, my eldest son. He detoxed very well, and his body's really functioning really amazingly now, and he's starting to want to explore down different foods, and I'm really empowering him. He actually wants to be a vegan chef, so I'm like, yeah, great, of all the careers to do, this is a good one. This is going to benefit the whole family. And I'm really encouraging him to do that and to explore with different foods, but I'm really empowering him to like feel into his body. How does his body feel with more, you know, nuts and seeds and different things? How does he feel with that? And he's quite in tune with his body to say, had enough or not, or, you know, and he'll go to a party and he'll make the best choices he can. But there's that fine balance between, you know, oh, no, we don't do that because we're detoxing. Well, hang on, what am I saying no to? I'm saying no to beautiful, still nourishing, beautiful food, but with social friends, or, you know, what's soul food and what's detoxing, and where's that line is certainly something that I think when you've really gone through the journey and you've done the hard work, and I'm still in it myself. I feel like you've you know, a few years ahead of me on my journey. And we all, like I said, we all start from different bodies, and my particular body was super toxic. So yeah, I'm still on my journey. But certainly once you've done a lot of the hard work, you start to go, okay, I can tolerate certain things without impacting my body. And I can, you know, have something now, which, you know, and we've discussed this myself when I've sort of said, oh, you know, I had this real splash out meal, and you've gone, oh my God, that's still like really super, super clean food. But to me, in that detoxification, feels like a splash out meal. But that's been really empowering for my social situation, for my soul, for memories, all that kind of stuff. And I think when the detoxification becomes this control and this rigidness, and especially when you're dealing with children, when you become controlling and rigid on what they do and eat, it stops being beneficial, and actually becomes this another form of addiction. And so many of us have come from food addiction to detoxification, where they've found this middle ground of feeling great and then taken it too far and got addicted again, to health, to detoxing, to taking our bodies to the maximum, to the edge, to aspiring to be breatharians. And it's like, really, we are here in this physical form to have fun, be kind, spread love. And there's the perfect clean body, the perfect colon. And then there's like a really super clean body that has fun and expresses in life and works on their stuff. And I personally feel like that's the journey that I'm on. I'm not I'm not interested in having the most perfect colon and then walking around the corner and being hit by a bus when I've missed out on so much in life. But saying that, I do feel like you have to go through some hard work to get to that stage. Like there has to, if you're at the beginning of your journey and you keep dropping things in of, oh, it's just this is, you won't get the clean body. Absolutely. But if you've done some hard work, there's certainly this kind of fork in the road where you go, okay, I can, if I'm in the right mindset to go down this path, brilliant. If I'm in a healthy mindset, if I feel like I'm getting too addicted to this, I need to ease off the control a little bit and need to have some other nourishment, because we also know that nourishment and fun can be other things other than food as well. Definitely.
Yes, yes. Yeah, that's where I also intermittently, especially coming from a history of eating disorder, I would sort of keep myself in check and realize, oh, now I'm becoming too dogmatic, or, you know, too fruit fixed, or too whatever fixed. And then, okay, come, let's go have a completely different meal that is more inclusive, that is more fun, that will sort of, and then to go and challenge myself to embrace that, to enjoy that, and to just relax. And I found
Yeah.
that whenever I did that, it actually furthered my health journey. It allowed me to relax, to lose the duality, and to realize all is divine, including some of the foods that may not be optimal. But if we start judging them, and there's nothing wrong, like now, most of the time, you know, I'll go to the supermarket and 95% of the food, I don't even notice it. There's no more thinking like, oh, I wish I could eat that. But there was a time when that was very present. And I
Yeah.
realized that time it was hard, and it was actually taking away from my health, because there was a lot of negativity and judgment around certain foods. And now it's like, oh, that has all dropped away, and it feels very integrated. And at the same time, it's like, sure, I know that if I really wanted to, at this stage, my body is you know, working well enough that I could have any of that, but I no longer want to give that to my body. And that's
Yeah.
integration that we want to have.
It's certainly a journey to get there. I've personally been in that place where I've like, I choose this, I want this, I'm not interested by anything else. And then I've been through stages where I've felt deprived, and that inner battle has not been healthy. So I've chosen what I've wanted at the time, but blessed my food, made it neutral. This is not good or bad. This is just food. That all food is good, great, or optimum, and that this is still good food, and my choices are still good. And to take that pressure off. But then you go through stages where everything's flowing really well, and you're like, I don't need any of that stuff. And I feel like what I personally see in our industry, Alex, is that there's a lot of perfection, there's a lot of right or wrong, there's a lot of judgment of this is the way we do it, and if you don't do it this way, it's not right. And I think I've even spouted that myself in a way, and come full circle round to, we're humans, and we need desire and fun and freedom. And if we ever put ourselves in a cage, even if it's a really healthy cage made of lettuce and fruit, it's still not helpful for our soul work. And I feel like this part of detoxification and part of a healthy, and especially bringing it in back to children as well, like you've got to be really careful with what we show our children, and what we're telling them is right or wrong. Like, you know, for me personally, I try and empower them to know what good nutrition is, to make their own choices about things, and to check in with why we're doing this, and to remind them. And, you know, we've got elderly grandparents that aren't very well, and they say it themselves, like, you know, I don't want that for my body. And often people with children that are normal, healthy children, they're not really seeing it. It's not about right now, it's about the future. It's like the choices you make are not necessarily about how do I feel today or this week. It's like, what is this going to do to help me in 10 years time? And what is this going to do for my child right now when they're 20, or even when they're like 14 going through puberty, or when they're having their children and their toxins get passed on to their children. Like, it's the bigger picture. And I feel like the perfectionism is just it's another toxin really on the body.
Yes. I mean, what I've seen a lot in the industry is people, you know, maybe going, some of them for 15 years having colonics every single day. And I think, how can that be healthy? I mean, yes, colonics and enemas are fantastic, and I really believe they are a crucial part of detoxification. But when you start doing them every single day for 15 years, that's dangerous. What do you say to that?
Yeah. Yeah, I do, and again, I get asked a lot about enemas with children. And when William was very constipated, we used enemas on both children. And even, you know, I believe that even when you're have diarrhea and loose stools, you're still very constipated. We're full of stools. So, you know, we used enemas for a while for our children. But then as soon as we really increased the fruits and really got them, you know, fully onto this way of living, we backed down on that because their bodies knew what to do and they kicked in. And ever so often I might think, I'm going to give you an enema. We call them tummy washes. And they sit on this, they lie on their side, and, you know, we don't watch TV at home, so they get the iPad, which they just think is amazing. And they're absolutely fine. And I've talked to a lot of parents through how to do enemas. I do feel they're a real benefit. But again, if it's become an addiction, I think it's about watching anything. If you're, oh my God, I've not done my juice fast this Saturday, or oh my God, I missed my dry fast Sunday. If that causes you stress, it's probably not the right thing for you to be doing.
Right.
If you're worried and stressed about something because you've missed that one day of it, I feel like that's not actually, it's a crutch. It's not actually a tool to support you. If you're like, oh yeah, I haven't fasted for a couple of days. Yeah, I'll put a fast in. It's more that energy is a nicer energy than, oh my God, everything's gone wrong because I missed my 36-hour dry fast, or I forgot my pudding last night and I haven't done an enema for 2 days. Oh my God, that's it. I've got to start all over again. It's like that energy is not healthy for the body. They have to be, and this is why I believe that anyone, before they start any detoxification, any nutrition change, anything, it's mindset first. It's an empowerment mindset, vibration. It's getting all of that straight first before you enter into something. And I personally didn't do that. So I've learned from that. I went into, you know, master fasts and different things, just like, oh my God, this is going to be the thing that fixes me. This is it, without doing the hard work first. And it unraveled me. It unraveled me because I wasn't ready. Even though I'd been raw for so many years and fruit for so many years and everything, I wasn't emotionally ready for it. And I personally am from you know, slow and steady kind of education of, like, if it takes you an extra 5 years, but you do it consistently with the right emotion behind it, with the right kind of tools, you're going to get a better result than this boom bust and force and pressure and righteousness and everything else that comes sometimes with trying to make your body and your life perfect.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, that's where I see there is this division between those of us that tend to have the more gentler approach, which doesn't mean that it's more allowing of other foods. It's just, it's allowing that in the knowing that there's a process and that it all needs to happen in unison with the body, with the mind, with the emotions. And then there's those approaches that are really sort of hard lined down to, this is what you eat, this is how many hours you need to dry fast every day, this is how many enemas and colonics and so forth you need to do, and unless you do that, you are not succeeding, you're weak-willed. And you know, because that is the subtle message, is that then you're weak-willed, whereas really my message, and I think yours is the same, is that this path doesn't need any willpower, it needs understanding. And once we have the understanding, then we know, okay, there's a process to go through. And inevitably, as we keep coming back to honoring the body, honoring the emotions, honoring the process, we will get to where we want to be, or to where we need to be even. Because I always say, up until a year ago, I kept saying to my husband, like, I will never be eating mostly fruit. You know, so like I needed to make that statement because I didn't want to go there. and then it just naturally happened. And now, even though I'm still enjoying some other foods and I know that they have their purpose, I feel especially green salads, I can see they have their purpose of sweeping the toxins through and cleaning the colon and so forth. But actually my body is enjoying more and more fruit. And at the same time, there's a disengagement from sort of like the interest in food. And if somebody would have told me that's what's going to happen, I would have said, oh yeah, maybe in 10 years time.
Yeah.
So it is amazing how when we soften to the journey and we just allow rather than restrict, it just naturally unfolds.
Yeah. I think it's like coming from love. Am I doing this because I love my body and I love myself? Or am I doing this because I hate my body and I'm so desperate to change? Or I hate this emotion that I'm having. I hate this depression. I hate this. And I feel like that's starting from a place where I don't want to say failure, but it's gonna be harder. It's gonna be harder than finding the vibration of like, I'm doing this because I believe in it, because I love myself enough to make a change. I love my child enough to make a change, and I'm gonna love myself through it. Because often, so the detoxification world's really blossomed, which is amazing. But what's come with that is some very beautiful people that are making it look like it's quite effortless. Like, I just do an enema and some fruit, and I eat fruit on a tropical beach, and woo, everything's great. And it's like, okay, bully for you, that's amazing. I'm so pleased for you. But there's a lot of people out there that it's not, and me included, it's not that easy. There's a lot of stuff you need to shift through, move through. The body sometimes has resistances to even let go of stuff that you in your mind want to let go of, but the body's going, well, we're not safe to let go of this yet. We're not ready to let go of this. The reason we're holding this on is to protect you from something you're not even aware of.
Absolutely.
And I think it's hard when we see images of fitness experts and detox experts, and we kind of go, why is my journey not that easy? And why has she got this amazing willpower and I don't? And I think we have to come back to, I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this because I love myself. I'm doing this because, my personal goal was I want to be fit and healthy for when I'm 40. I'm 37 now. So I'm on the path. I really do believe I'm going to get that goal by the time I'm 40. I'm really going to be in that really amazing space. And then when I get to 40, I'm sure I'll put another goal in there. But for me, it's, and that's progressed on. My first goal was to be able to get out of bed. Then my second goal was to be able to get out of bed with energy. And then it was like to be able to exercise without having to sleep for 2 days. And, my goals have been quite, small. And now it's like, I want to feel the healthiest and fittest I've ever been, which I do, but I have a particular goal in my head. It's not a comparison to be like someone else or to have something somebody else has got.
Yeah. I think that is really important, is to realize we are all individuals and unique in our own journey, and to also really tune into the truth of what is going to serve us, instead of holding on to this outer image. And ironically, because for me that was such a big part of the journey, in between I was, of course, like any other woman, I wanted to look a particular way. And I thought, well, initially in my journey, I thought maybe this is the way of doing it. Like, not only can I heal my body, but I can also look a certain way. And once I realized I needed to let go of that, because that image was actually sabotaging me on so many other levels, and to then really come back and go, okay, just trust your inner journey and grow from the inside out, and trust that when you will have this perfect health vitality, you will also look beautiful. And ironically, when I started to unhinge from that image, it just seemed like this sort of statue of perfection that I had in mind just allowed itself to be birthed from love in its own
Yeah.
time, you know? And maybe also because I let go of an image, now I don't even know what is my image anymore. It's kind of like that's just all been a blur. And now it's like, well, I don't know, now I'm just happy. But I had to first let go. And that letting go was so hard because I thought, what if I am the one, what if I'm the unlucky one, sort of like the bad pair in the lot, that yes, you can get healthy, but you're not quite going to get the strong body that you desire. That was obviously, and that we always come from that, like maybe I'm the special unlucky one.
Yeah.
And to then inhale that, yes, okay, so inhaling that possibility and then dropping it and letting it go and trusting that it's all going to be just fine. And it is all just fine. That is the beautiful part of this journey. I really feel that when we drop all of it, all the stories, and we just focus on the inner journey and bringing the inner joy, the inner excitement and all of that goes along with it, and we start shining louder and louder as if we are already there, everything falls into place.
I think that's a massive key actually that you just said there, that it's starting the journey off as whole and complete and enough.
Yeah.
And we're going to do this instead of I'm broken, damaged, I'm sick, I have 20 labels and I need to do this. I'm desperate, I need to do this, because that energy is going to block a lot, as opposed to finding a way of I'm complete and whole and then I'm going to do this journey. And especially with our children and parents looking to seeing their children as complete and whole and not in need of being fixed or sorted or healed, which is why I love the child prophecy way of looking at the needs model that Dr. Maxine does, because she gives you really amazing tools of how to do that. But it's hard because when we've grown up with these messages that we're not enough and that we need to be like, compared to the beautiful person, or the this comparison and judgment is just like a second nature for us.
Yeah.
But I believe that if we, for people starting this journey, my big tip would be find that place first, find that love and acceptance and that you are enough, then go into this beautiful journey.
Completely.
Because it'll sidestep you, or push you ahead, definitely.
Yeah, I agree. Adding on to that, I would also say, always, whenever you see, and that is really a practice, and it's a tough practice at times, that whenever we want to reach outside and we see whatever it is, that particular food or that other practice, or, I need to tighten. So whenever we go out, to actually take that as an alarm bell to go, okay, let go and come back into your softness, into acceptance, into surrender, into love. And it's sometimes, I say in the moment, sometimes loving yourself may mean that in this moment, I'm not going to be harsh and do a dry fast with the energy of like, let's just push it. But maybe in this moment, loving yourself means, okay, you know what? I'm going to allow myself to skip the dry fast, and I'm going to just enjoy, a beautiful trip to the farmer's market, and I'm going to buy lots of delicious fruit, and I'm going to celebrate. And yes, maybe I've eaten a little bit too much fruit, but it's okay.
I think that comes down to trusting yourself as well, isn't it? Like, I'm sure you're the same. When a client comes to you, they're like, give me the plan. Tell me the plan. What's the plan? And I think it's the same as me going to all these doctors and going, fix my children. It's that we don't really trust ourselves. And I think on this lifestyle, there is certainly the protocols and the ways of doing things and the different types of fasting and okay, how many hours are you dry fasting for? And how many times are you drinking that tea? And I think we lose that, like, do I really want tea right now? No. Okay, I'm not going to have tea. Do I feel like dry fasting today? No, I actually feel like I'm coming on my period and I need some nourishment, and that's okay. I'm going to nourish myself.
Mm-hmm.
Or I feel like dry fasting today, but actually it's my day to do, a grapefruit cleanse. And it's like, why are we fighting against this innate natural wisdom that we have to go, this doesn't feel quite right now. And I feel like that has helped me a lot in my journey to just go, do I feel like doing this today? Yep, then I'm going to do it. Does this feel right? Yep, then I'm going to do it. Knowing that, everything we're talking about today is within the realms of detoxification. So we know that we're talking when we're eating food, that they're the foods within this, mucusless diet and fruit diet, and it's within the realms of the tools that we're doing, but not having the rigidness and the control within that, because that's already quite, niche as it is, to then get really rigid inside that. It's too much block on the body, I feel, and that's been my journey, is just, to relax from that and go, what do I tap into? How do I actually feel? And the only time that I'll force on my body something is like if I'm flying, I'll always do a dry fast, because I just feel the best. If I dry fast when I'm flying, I feel great when I get off the other end. If I've got, particular certain things on, I might say, no matter what, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But it's not everyday life.
Right. Yeah, so that, I feel like, is such an important message to remember, for all of us on this journey, that it's important to soften and to tune into our body wisdom. And it ultimately also, I think the first few years of detox, there's a lot of learning. There's a lot of, I don't know how I'm going to do this, and what do I need to do, and when do I do it? But eventually, after 2 years of detox, really, and of going through the motions, then it's also, throw the books out, throw all the knowledge out, and trust that you've integrated what you need, and then start using the tools and the knowledge to your advantage. And then you can start playing with it. Then it's not about rigidity, but it's about, okay, I can go a little bit to the left and I can go a little bit to the right. And I trust myself that automatically I'm going to come back to what I know is optimal for me. And also that in the progression, naturally, there's going to be changes that arise because of natural progression in the body. Because what I found is that the cleaner the body becomes, the less it actually does want. And so when I compare the amount of food that I used to eat at the beginning of my journey compared to now, I mean, I probably eat a third of what I used to eat even just 2 years ago. But there was never a conscious decision of like, I'm going to eat less.
Yeah.
It just happened. And now sometimes I'm amazed. It's like, really? Is that all? And then I check, am I trying? It's like, oh no, there's no trying. It's just, this is what's happening. And then it's like, okay, fine. And then obviously, also some days it's eating 3 times as much again, but that it is, and that is natural. Natural flow is, sometimes the body doesn't want anything. And we see that with our children as well. Some days they're ravenous and they just can't get enough. And then other days, like, no food necessary at all, which I feel is
definitely something that I try and work with my parents on, is to get them to see that their children actually don't really need parenting, that they've got a lot of this stuff naturally. You've already had a banana, you can't have another one. It's like, let them do what they need to do. I don't want breakfast. You've got to have breakfast. Or, like we often, if they're not well, it's like, come on, have some tea and toast and have something. And they're naturally, kids fast naturally. When they're unwell, they don't want to eat. And we often force things on them. Or they tell us, like, I don't want dinner. Well, okay. There's a difference between I don't want dinner, but I want ice cream, to I've had it. I just don't feel like, eating right now, or, and especially with, just observing children really teaches you about yourself, because they are so in touch with their instincts and what works for them and what doesn't, and often we override them. I mean, you know, what Maxine teaches is that the child is born a complete being, and then we go and stick all of our you know, beliefs and shoulds and shouldn'ts and projections and everything onto them, and that's what creates the issues, because they're either pushing out of the boundaries, or and when we can actually come back to seeing them and knowing that they are a reflection of our inner child, we can actually go, am I listening to myself? Am I listening to my inner child? Am I listening to my instincts right now? And then when we do that, we can start seeing our children and go, you know, they've got it sorted. You see it with these kids where, you know, they come in like, all my kid eats is bananas. It's like, all good.
Yeah.
Can he eat bananas? I'm trying to get him to eat his steak. It's like, he doesn't want to eat steak. He wants to eat bananas.
Yeah. Wonderful. So I think we're going to wrap it up so that we're not going to make it too long and people can enjoy listening to all of it. Where can people find you? I mean, obviously we'll post the link to your website and all of that.
Thank you.
And yeah, any closing thoughts on this vast and fascinating subject?
I think we've covered a lot. Most importantly is to love yourself through the journey and to listen to your instincts, and that healing your children comes from healing you first. And that anything and everything is possible if you're in alignment with the belief, the energy, the vibration of it, and that you're choosing the optimum high frequency foods for your body. I do believe everything is possible. We just all have a different timeline on how long that takes and how much of a journey that is for each of us. I have a support group, which we'll put a link to. And yeah, I'm available for Skype if anybody wants to work with me with their children. I do specialize in detoxifying sensitive children and empowering mothers to really look after themselves, because I really believe that that's the foundation for healthy children. Thriving children is a thriving, healthy mother, and that the mother comes first, is the pinnacle part of the family and needs to be nourished and nurtured, so that then can go out and nourish and nurture the children and the community and spread this message.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Hannah. I find you always so inspiring, and really I wanna make a point of saying what you have achieved with your children and with yourself is nothing short of miraculous. And I really feel that the world needs to hear this message, because it's just an amazing testimony to what is possible, which is what excites me too for my own journey, knowing, you know, having gone from being so sick that I was bedridden to now thriving on all levels that I never thought was possible at all. And that's what keeps me excited to bring this message out and to go, people, wake up. Yes, initially it may look like you're giving certain things up, but actually you are saying yes. Every no is a yes to so much more, that once you really realize it and you start feeling the effects, all the no's no longer bother you.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the truth.
Yeah, I actually feel like we have the most abundant lifestyle we've ever had. Variety, colour. I don't actually feel deprivation at all. But again, that's a mindset thing. If you're going to go into it feeling like it's depriving, and you know, like, you'll always hear that. You'll always hear, you know, friends and grandparents always like, oh, they're missing out. It's so sad. And it's like, missing out on anything. What they're gaining is, and what you gain and we gain is amazing. Beyond, you know, for me, it's spiritual.
Yeah.
Not just the physical, it's the spiritual gains as well.
Completely. Yes. It's we cannot fathom. I always say, unless you've gone through it, something needs to tickle you into the journey. And oftentimes it's not just a tickle, it's disease. And it's sort of, I mean, that's the reality. Most people come to us when they've tried everything and when they are sort of like on their last leg, unfortunately. But what I would like to leave our listeners with is, realize that there is so much possible, and you cannot even begin to fathom what is possible from your life until you start this journey for yourself, for your family, for your children, and dare to go there before you get sick, because that's
Absolutely.
really, and as crazy as it may seem initially, but if you dare to go there, what you find on the other side is truly freedom from everything and inclusiveness of so much life and vitality and all of that. So yeah,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Hannah, for this discussion, and I'm sure we'll have many more.
Thank you for your time, and for everybody listening. Yeah, been amazing. Thank you. You're so inspiring to me. I think because of everyone, it's like there's a lot of beautiful people passing this message, but you are so authentic and real. And I think that's what we need. We need the, hey guys, this is not that easy, and this is what it is, and this is what I've been through. And I think we need that. The sugar-coated perfection does no one favors at all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Hannah.
Thank you so much.
See you.